we are back in the limelight. I try to get that intro right, and every once in a while I sneak in there while I'm trying to make it look so sleek, and I missed it again today. But anyway, welcome back to In the Limelight. We are back with yet two extraordinary entrepreneurs this morning. They're sisters, and I can't wait to bring them on because who in this world doesn't need a little more organization, whether it be in our personal lives or our business lives. So we're going to be talking to them about that. But in the meantime, I do want to remind you that you are going to be able to see this interview on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Daily Motion, and YouTube. Of course, you're seeing it now on YouTube Live. And then we have the podcasts. So that is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, Podbean, and yes, that's how we roll with our podcast. The digital magazine is still, here it is, In the Limelight with Clarissa, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. Mr. Pagani is on the cover. We have a new drop on March 1st with Lady Carnarvon on our cover, and that is Lady and Lord Carnarvon own Highclere Castle, and that is the Downton Abbey Castle. So we're very excited to have her on our March 1st drop. Okay. Oh, and I do want to remind you guys, don't forget about my news desk. My news desk is this really new cool software that I'm collaborating with, and they are extraordinary. If you wanted to get out news releases, press releases, kind of check on what even what your competition is doing, you're going to be able to, you have access to thousands and thousands of journalists all over the world. And I'm telling you, for me, it's been a game changer because I'm able to get all of my information out quickly and to many, many, many people, as I said, all over the world. I'm also thrilled about our new collaboration with pressreader.com, which is a publication aggregator, and with all of the major legacy brands, again, from all over the world. So In the Limelight with Clarissa is going to be there as of March 1st, again, with the Lady Carnarvon cover. Oh, with that all having been said, that's a lot to get off the plate in the beginning. Let's bring on our two sisters. Here's their book, by the way, Organize Your Way. Yes. It is simple strategies for every personality, and they broke it into personality types, which is really cool. How do you organize? Do you have a style or a certain way to doing things? Here we go. There's Kelly McMenamin and her sister, Katie. Hey, ladies.
Hi. How are you?
I know you girls are coming in from East Coast. I think New York, if I'm not mistaken.
And Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. You're Cleveland. You're New York. Yeah. All right. So a little bit of snow, a little bit of cold, and probably, I don't know. Is there more to organize in the winter?
Yes. Gloves
and hats. Like there is?
Yeah. And then you switch it in and out. So you're right. It's probably easier organizing if you live in a better climate.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think so because you got the mud room and the snow boots and all of that, right? And this
you have to change it out. You have to change like swimwear and summer stuff with this and going to take the kid. It's a lot harder to have to do it.
So the first thing I want to thank you for is this lovely, you give me a lovely dedication in the book when you sent it. So thanks for that. And the second thing I really love, ladies, is the fact that you've dedicated this book to mom and dad and then to grandma and grandpa. And I just, grandma, forgive me. And I just thought that was really extraordinary, not only for the sentiment, but I'm kind of thinking to myself, did they teach you a few things along the way?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. That was a definite Well, do tell.
Well, our grandmothers were polar opposites in the Myers-Briggs personality type spectrum. Okay. So one grandmother let us play with her costume jewelry and her scarves and her wigs, and we had the most creative, wonderful time. And the other grandmother wouldn't let us use her bathroom. Like she had one bathroom we were not allowed to go in, and it was enticing. It was pink, and it had these little soaps, beautiful like roses and things, and it was just
right.
You want
to never use the good towels. You never use the good towels.
Never.
I remember that too. Absolutely. So polar opposites, but I guess you learned something from both of them. One is here, you can go here, but you can't go there. And there's an organizational reason because or why. No. So, one, I guess, is save time. So you don't have to keep washing the good towels and you don't want to ruin the good towels. So there's a method behind the madness. No, Katie, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, she knew what she wanted and she liked, and you had to respect that. She knew what the limits of children were. And if her bathroom was going to stay the way she wanted it, children were not allowed in it. So that makes sense. Whereas my other grandmother it's not in her personality to care. And knowing that it was their personality type and not them just being mean made it much easier to understand. And it helped us when we developed our system for organizing, because Kelly is a lot more like my grandmother, who doesn't let and I'm the one that lets my kids play with my costume jewelry, and it's I have no jewelry.
I like to think I'm a mix of both, but I am pretty, I'm pretty organized, and I really get a little, somebody messes up. I know I live alone, so I know exactly where everything is. And if something's I'll know in a second when something's out of place. So, anyway, I digress. Let's, Kelly, I love Pixies Did It. Why did you girls decide to use that name?
So funny you asked me, because whenever people ask me that, I'm like, oh, and I'm just doing a solo interview. I'm like, oh, it's my sister. I would never have named an organizational company. Pixies Did It. I worked at a hedge fund when we started this. Right. Well, really, pixies, the mythical creatures are both helpful and annoying. And when you think about an organizer, we're both helpful and annoying, because we're telling you to throw out things, or this is how you should do something. But really, our parents called us pixies because we're both helpful and annoying. And she bought me a website when I was still in finance, Katie, for my birthday present. It was called Pixies Did It. She's like, maybe we can start a business together one day. And I thought, never in a million years. But I guess a million years passed. That's what happens in finance. And I was ready to start a business with my sister, and on the hunch that different personality types needed different organizing systems. And that really was born out of the fact that the two of us organize and think about everything entirely differently.
So it's really cool, because you guys, you've incorporated the Myers-Briggs way of doing things with the ISFGs. And I think I'm an ESFG, or I forget, ESFJ, I think.
Yeah, that's what I am.
And I know you guys for 5 minutes, or you ladies for 5 minutes. I can tell you're polar opposites already. So that probably really, it just really, it's easier now. It just, God, I wouldn't want to work with somebody like me. I would drive myself nuts. So it's good to have, the diversity, I think, of the different ways of approaching things. You more corporate, and Katie late to the game, and then the butt shot. But we won't get into that. I do want to. Which was very interesting. It was a different point of view, Katie. Let me just say that it's a different point of view. So again, everybody, here it is. Organize your way. And let's talk about the different personality types. Which is the easiest one for you gals to work with, that kind of goes with the flow and goes, yeah, great. Whatever you girls want, we'll do.
Ooh, I would say almost someone who's like my sister's personality type. We call them organics. There's 4 overarching types: classics, funs, smarts, and organics. And you can kind of split humanity down like the middle with classics and funs. We're like, that's me, and we're usually organizers, and we're detail oriented, a place for everything and everything in its place. And we like to file, like put things away. Whereas smarts and organics are pilers. Everyone piles, but these people are like pilers, and they tend to have more stuff. And the more big picture. And so that's like kind of your initial divide, pilers and filers, and then you go into the 4 types. But the reason I think organics are probably the easiest to work with is they are big picture. And it's not that they don't have opinions, right, Katie? It's that you're not as nitpicky, I guess, maybe is the way to think about it. And you can talk through things like, oh, this makes more sense. And they'll kind of go like, oh yeah. Whereas someone like a classic. Go ahead.
Do you ever walk into kind of like an almost hoarding kind of situation where you go, oh my God, where do we start?
Yeah. Yes. It's overwhelming to me as a classic, because I never really let myself get there.
Yeah. It's overwhelming to everybody.
Right. And see, I think that's why I would really not, like extreme hoarding, but I love organizing. Absolutely love it. It doesn't mean my life is always organized. It just means I really love it when I do it, because there's such a sense of accomplishment afterwards, and neat and clean. And again, I think I read on your website, it's not about being perfect. It's just about knowing where stuff is.
Yes. What I was going to say is that, if I was to organize an organic or a smart the way I would like it, or you would like it as a classic, it might look amazing, but if they can't find where I've put and hidden something away, then they're not actually organized. I mean, it looks great. It looks maybe it looks better, but they're not actually organized. And really, that's kind of the main gist of what we've done over a decade. And in our book is helping people understand that they have to create systems where they'll actually remember where they put something. And smarts and organics are pilers because they have a visual memory. It's like seeing something actually helps them remember it. So if they squirrel things away in a box in a cabinet, you know, a couple of years go by and they're like, where is that thing?
Yeah,
right. And then they move a couple years after that and they're like, oh my God, I was looking for that 5 years ago because it was hidden away.
So infuriating. Sometimes I'm too good for my own good and I organize so well, I can't find stuff.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
It's about knowing how your brain is wired so that you can kind of go back exactly how you'd find it. So as organizers, we're not trying to say, this is how you have to do it. This is the right amount of stuff. You know, this is too much. This is not too much. It's, can you find things? And if you can, you're basically organized. And sometimes we're just going in there and putting structure around a system that already exists, even if it's one that like I go in and I'm like, oh my God, this is too much stuff. If I'm with my sister, who's more big picture, sometimes she can kind of see where the natural order is that the person's created. And she's just coming up with a way to put more structure on it. Katie,
So
putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that is how it goes. But, you know, it's funny, Kelly, I was thinking that you guys' personality types for me is easier because it's already, well, we all know how to organize according to your type. Like that's the easy thing. And then you've got to convince other people to do something different. And I feel like sometimes we've reinvented the wheel of organizing for organics and smarts. And that didn't, you know, so it's hard to get them to go on side. You know, it's hard.
So who are the funds? Who are the funds?
Funds are people that are a lot like Kelly. They're very detail oriented, but they don't do to-do lists. Like they do not write down to-do lists. So even though they're very organized, you walk into their home, you think, oh, this is a classic type A person, but then they don't keep lists. They just have it all in their head. And they're the kind of people who like tend to start cleaning up the party before it's over. Like they just take care of things in the moment. They're not good at telling time. They're often late to things. So, you know, they're a hybrid between classic and my personality type, which.
Yeah. I always describe them. I'm like, they're just like a classics, but they're late to Thanksgiving dinner. Like, they're late putting it on the table. They're like the people you're like, dude, really? Like, you know, the classic is somebody who's planning so much in advance that really it's going to be around about when you think. But a fun is like when you're like, how is this super organized person so?
And who's the smart? Who's the smart?
They're the people that run things.
That's why we gave them that name. We thought they'd identify.
So you're walking in and you're trying to do your job and they're helping you do it?
It would be really hard to tell a smart to put their piles in baskets. Like it'd be hard to get them to convince them that that's the best way to do it. If they didn't see why. You had to come up with they're very logical, so you have to give the right reason. And, you know, so that's what I mean. It's sometimes hard to convince people of new ideas, especially smarts, because they think they know everything. They're called smarts for a reason. And
who's the organic? Who's the organic?
That is, they're also big picture, but they do not use logic as the way to make decisions. They use subjective reasoning. So they do tend to be more your typical hoarders and have things that they can't throw away, and are frightened of their attic falling in on them, you know, because it's full of stuff. That's
not good.
But you know, not all organics are like that. Everyone's different because it's subjective. You know, the subjective decision making means they could be, you know, if they were raised by somebody who was like Kelly, they might not have as much stuff. You know, it depends, you know, on that. So
everybody, again, we're talking about how to organize your way. And again, it is simple strategies for every personality. We're talking about the personality types right now. You can see pixiesdidit.com there on the ticker on the bottom. If you want to go over to Kelly and Katie's website to learn more, I want to know who's the classic.
Amongst us, or just who?
No,
is
just
the classic?
In general.
The classic is your classic organizer. It's the person who's like, this is where this goes, this is where that goes. The classic basically invented a filing cabinet with like discrete categories in a, you know, opaque folder where you can't see what's inside. And, you know, when we first started doing our field research, basically as organizers, we noticed that primary person being Katie, but then every other person like her, that sometimes they just didn't even think about what was in a filing cabinet. So even though it was filed away and organized, they would like lose documents because it was almost like it was a mausoleum. It was like you'd close the drawer and like they'd never think it's like a dead body, basically. So they never thought to go back in there.
So what's a common myth?
Yeah. I just moved last week and I found old mausoleum boxes full of files. I have no idea what's in there. I know I don't need them because I have an active filing system that's on a bookshelf. I have like 12, like 12 inboxes, and that's my filing system, all the important things, and I have it right there, and it's on a bookshelf out in the open, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
It's coming up with that
common myth about organizing that you gals have found that just isn't true.
Well, I think it's really that there's one right way to organize. And in reality, what we found is there are these 4 overarching personality types, like the classics, fun, smarts, and organics. Right. But in reality, there's 8. There's a total of 8. And there really is a right way that works for you. And it's about finding that, and that helps make organizing easier. And that's kind of the underpinning of success. It's not so much finding the system that's the perfect one in the world. It really is about the perfect one for you. And most organizing books really are about telling you to do it this specific way. And usually it's like the way the author or the organizer is telling you to do it. And most often organizers are either classics or funds. So it really leaves out in the cold smarts and organics, which is almost half the population. Right. And, there just isn't a specific amount of clutter that's okay, because some people like to have more possessions than other people. Some people are stressed out by a ton of clutter. There isn't one way. And that to me is the biggest myth in organization, and why everyone's always still trying to get organized despite how many books written on this subject and how many TV shows, right?
I'm just trying to get rid of my clutter. I'm organized, but you wouldn't know it because I just have too much clutter. My strive and organized, I know where everything is, always. And I just moved a week ago. I know where everything important is. It's just clutter.
So what's the one piece of advice, organizational advice, that you give to the audience?
Do you buy a book?
Buy the book. Okay. Here it is again. Buy the book. Buy the book. Buy the book. Buy the book. Okay, we did that. So I saw also that you also have started to do what you do best online and virtually for people. So let's talk about a minute. How does that work?
Well, basically, it's kind of the same thing as in person. We just can't physically do stuff for you. So we have, initial consult, and you take the quiz online. So the main reason you want to go to pixiesdidit.com is you can go take the quiz and figure out who you are. You'll get your results. But then you can also book us for virtual consults. And essentially what we're doing is trying to figure out, this is what we do in person. We're figuring out who you are, what your organizational problems are, and what systems you need to implement. And then we tell you, same thing we do online, like what to buy, how to set it up, where. I mean, that's the best part about Zoom and technology these days, is that I can see your room kind of almost the same as being there. The only thing I physically can't do is measure, really. And so that's the only thing that people have to do on their own. But I really can come up with, the same solutions and really get people there, especially, it's kind of a good combo with our book as well. And you can get that on Amazon, Organize Your Way. So
yeah, you can get it on Amazon or on Barnes and Noble, right? So that's good. So anyway, just I guess in closing, I'd like to ask you this question. What was the one organizational idea that you came up with where you both kind of went, oh, high five. That's really great. That looks amazing.
I have mine. Do you have yours, Katie?
Well, my filing system. I'm like, that is literally why I hired an organizer, started this company with Kelly, was to figure out a way to do what to do with all my piles. I have pretty piles now. They're all uniform and in the same place, and they're out and I can see them. So that was me. But that's my personality type. Kelly, what's yours? Oh, hooks.
I know. I was just going to say, and I love hooks. I know.
What about hooks? Hooks are like universal, very important. They work for everybody. Everybody needs them.
Yeah. I'm with you.
For me, it's we call it the 1-step rule, but I was just writing a blog on it. It's basically the KISS principle, and It's whenever you have any system, and you can kind of do this at any point during your day, any organizational system, you just ask yourself, is there a way to make this simpler? Is there a way to remove a step? So when you think about hooks, it's like, wait, hanging up your coat in the coat closet, that's like a 7-step process. But if you just have coat hooks, even if it's inside the closet, because you don't want to actually see coats, you're removing a lot of steps. And then more people, you're going to do it more often. You're going to hang up your coat. Other people are going to do it.
Right.
So it's always just about removing steps, like your hamper. Remove the lid. People put clothes on top of the lid. Just remove the lid. Just remove that step. And then it's like a 1-step process. So that's the thing that for me, I was like, oh my God, like, why didn't I always think about life this way? Remove a step whenever you can.
I have to agree. Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, hooks are an amazing thing. There was something else that came. No, they are. They're an amazing thing. There was something else that came to mind, and I'll be talking. Oh, labeling, labels, like creating pretty, like a nice labeler. And I don't have one, but I'd like to get one. So, but I see, I see it on Pinterest or on, even sometimes, I guess Pinterest mostly. And it just looks so beautiful. And so that really, I think, pulls it all together when you've got your bins and they're beautifully labeled. Even your canisters in the kitchen, beautifully labeled. I mean, it just looks really pretty, right?
I think it looks
I've seen women do like the most insane things with their pantries. Like, wow. It looks like a work of art,
Well, see, but I always see those and I'm like, wait, who's the one who's decanting that? Is that like every week? Like you have to do that? And is it going to stay that way? And you'd be amazed how many people actually ignore labels. Like when I live alone, I listen to labels and I'm always like, do you not see this says candy? This is candy. Why are chips in here?
No, that too. But I'm gonna go with women that have pantries that look like that. Probably don't have children. It was probably just for the shot.
My goal is to get the cereal boxes into a cabinet. Like that's the most. Like, forget about decanting. Just get them into a cabinet, and I'll be happy. Yeah.
I can't thank you ladies for enough for being with me today. Again, everybody, here it is. It is Organize Your Way. Again, simple strategies for every personality. You're going to want to get that over on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Kelly and Katie, thank you so much. Stay right there while I say goodbye to everybody. We're going to see you all again. This is We Go Live Wednesday. So we're going to see you again at the top of the hour, everybody. We'll see you again in half an hour. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You can listen to this and all of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Inspired News Radio. You'll find all of my videos and the In the Limelight digital magazine on ClarissaBurt.com. And don't forget to connect with me on social pretty much anywhere. Stay well until we meet again in the Limelight.